Knightline is brought to you by the Dever Team, your source for New Smyrna Beach real estate and everything else New Smyrna Beach. Go to www.thedeverteam.com and call UCF alumni Travis Dever for all your New Smyrna Beach needs. 386-690-1636. That's 386-690-1636.
Welcome to UCF Knightline, your source for UCF sports and former player information.
Hello, Night Nation. This is Andrew Phegley coming to you from the 1148 studios, and this is Knightline 219 from the award-winning Knightline Sports Network. Joining me as always,
Trace Trylko. Hello, everyone. We're taking a look at the running backs as our position-by-position reviews continue. We weigh in on voting in the first week of the third annual Nightliner Awards. Ben Stout on men's basketball's 2-0 week. From FTU to UCF, we begin our look at 50 years of men's basketball, and Libby wants to know if I use a selfie stick. That's an Ask Knightline. But first,
Rito to the glass. Somehow got in there. He got it back. 2 seconds. Shot up. No. Durr has a piece of it. And USF just got slimed.
I love that. USF just got slimed. All right, men's basketball with a game-ending stop beating the neon-clad Cows 55-54. That's UCF's 9th straight win over the Cows in men's basketball. It's also 3 more points than in the season-long war on I-4 rivalry. Just ahead, we'll have post-game reaction and an analysis from Ben Stout. Before we do, let's check in on UCF football.
But first, what did you think of those uniforms that they were wearing? I mean, if the power went out, I guess they could have continued to play that game.
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe they thought they were going to be distracting or something like that.
Is there a program that is more off-brand and doesn't get messaging right? I mean, first they have football uniforms that look like Vieira High School's. Then they have a color scheme that looks like the waste management dumpsters. Yeah. And now they're looking like they're extras at a Nickelodeon show. I mean, the whole thing's a mess.
Extras. And they got slimed. I mean, that's funny that guy said that.
You think he was waiting to use that line?
I guess. I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's what they look. They were slime green. So
slime green.
I think that's great, though, because now we should just say, you know, every time that we whoop them, we should just say, you know, USF gets slimed again.
I like it.
We can hang on to that for a while, I think, Night Nation.
I like it.
Yeah.
Well, so it was good. Basketball goes 2-0. It's nice to talk to Ben after victories. It had been a while.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It had been
Definitely.
a while. So are you mildly surprised UCF ranked 24th in both polls, AP and coaches, to end the season?
No, I'm happy with it. I'm not surprised. I'm not really surprised. I think we deserve to be there. So I'm not surprised. I'm happy with it. I'm good with it. I mean, just being ranked back up in that top 25 is, I think, where we belong. So
I know there are some naysayers who think that sort of thing doesn't really matter. I think it's important when they scroll things on ESPN and the like, and you see that you're ranked in that final top 25.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's good for the brand.
And you got to think that there's going to be momentum behind having a ranked matchup between UCF and North Carolina to open the season.
That should be good, yeah. I mean, is North Carolina in there ranked as well in this final poll?
No, they weren't in this final poll. I don't think they were in this final poll. They were just 7 and 6, but I see them in a lot of these early preseason rankings from various publications mentioning them in that 19 to 25 range. So I imagine that they'll get a nod on the name of Mac Brown as coach, and of course their freshman quarterback who had really a tremendous season.
Yeah, that's good. No, it should be, and that would be great. Maybe they'll be ranked above us somehow.
Well, no, we don't need that.
No, it'll help us out because, you know, you beat a ranked team that's ahead of you, and then it's a bigger deal than beating a ranked team that's below you. So that's why I would want them to be ranked higher than us when they come in here to play us.
USA Today this week, final grade on UCF football, a B. Fair? I mean, it's hard pressed to give them an A. All right, at 10-3.
I'd say B+.
Yeah, they just had it as a B.
Yeah.
I don't think... No, they did have B+ as a category, but they did not put them...
B+ with a 10-win season. Any 10-win season is a lot better, and a bowl win is better than not.
They had Alabama at a B at 11-2. So maybe it's based a little on expectations.
On record and, yeah.
Expectations, perhaps.
I cannot believe that you have not pointed out at all yet.
Oh, yeah, good point.
That my Kansas City Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl for the first time in 50 years. I have waited. I'm 46. I have waited my entire life for this to happen.
They've played really some of the most exciting games in these playoffs. They've been fun to watch.
Patrick Mahomes
He's a
is
magician.
Absolutely, I think, the best quarterback that's ever lived.
He always looks like he's
he
having a
will
lot
go
of fun,
down
too.
as one of those guys. And it'll probably be after I'm dead that it comes down to that. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's young. He's got a long ways to go. Who knows? I mean, who knows? You never know. So I don't even know if I'll see him freaking retire from the NFL.
The way you're talking, you might not see him in the Super Bowl. You're going to last 2 more weeks? What the heck?
I hope so. I hope so, yes. I'm planning on it.
And it looks, as we record, that the opponent will be San Francisco, barring a miraculous Green Bay comeback.
Yeah, I'm not really happy about that. I would rather it be Green Bay. San Francisco's, they're a really, really good team. So, and they're coached by those pesky Shanahans, so that kind of is not good for us. But Andy Reid at the Chiefs has done a great job this year.
Not won a Super Bowl, though, right?
Not won a Super Bowl. He's been a couple times, but he's not won. That's all right. The biggest thing to us Chiefs fans, to be honest with you, is just getting there after all of the waiting and bringing the Lamar Hunt Trophy home for the first time. Big deal for Kansas City Chiefs fans. That trophy has been named after him for a long time, and we've never gotten it. So he was our owner. His son is our owner now. After he passed away, that family owns the team. He brought the team to Kansas City. So if there was anything that was emotional about the whole thing for a lot of people, I think Chiefs fans, that was it. That was the really, really big deal that we wanted to do. Anyway,
well, the game's in Miami, so you're going to go, right?
Well, of course, I've looked at tickets, and I can't.
A couple hundred.
The cheapest ticket that I've seen is close into the range of $4,500.
That's just walking around money for you.
Yeah, well,
that's what you got on your money clip right now.
No. I think I have $20 in my wallet, and that I got paid on Friday. That tells you.
Well, you should save money then, not go, but throw a humongous Super Bowl party that would cost you far less.
I might have a little bit of a Super Bowl party. I might. I was thinking about that today.
I mean, you could spend a tenth of that and throw a pretty good bash.
Yeah, I mean, I could spend a couple $100 and have a good bash. So I possibly might do that. By the way, that Sunday, February 2nd, I believe that it is.
I protest this.
No,
let's record
Knightline
early.
Show, sorry.
Let's record during. No, let's record at halftime.
Absolutely not. No, we're taking the day off. I am sad to say, but
well, if you're not there, you'll just have to enjoy Jennifer Lopez and Shakira from the comfort of your living room.
I hope that there is some kind of wardrobe malfunction. I will just say that for either one of those two.
Well, let's not rule it out. You know, there's GoFundMe, right?
Yeah.
I think you need a pretty compelling story. Well, you just said that you may not have long to live.
You could,
so you're already building,
guys.
You're already building the narrative.
I've waited 46 years for this. I need $4,600. That's the deal. If you want to help me out, it's Andrew Phegley at yahoo.com on PayPal. You can take care of it. Oh, boy. I don't expect that from anybody.
You know, someone will pull that stunt and get funded somehow to go down.
Oh, I'm sure. It would be great. I mean, I do have some friends in some high places. If anybody has a hookup on Chiefs tickets or tickets to the Super Bowl, I'll sit on the visitors' side. I don't care.
Do you know anyone locally who roots for the Chiefs? Do you have a friend locally?
Yeah, there's a few.
Yeah,
I see quite a few people around because when you're one of the only people that are wearing that, and you're really, repping your team or whatever, wearing, red. I'm wearing red. You pointed out, like...
You're always wearing black or dark.
Yeah. But I see Chiefs logos, and I see them on cars, and, license plates and stickers and all that stuff. So, yeah, I think there's quite a few here, actually. I may need to start a Orlando chapter of Chiefs Nation.
Are you sure they don't have one?
I don't know if there is. I haven't seen it yet. So
I think the team wearing red's going to win.
Well, it's the home team that actually wears the dark color, right?
Are the Chiefs the home team?
We're the home. Yeah, the AFC is the home team, so we would be the one wearing actual red. So.
I don't know anybody that likes San Francisco, so go Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, I liked San Francisco back in the day.
To me, it's a victory just not to see the
Joe
Patriots
Montana
in there.
was there, and Jerry Rice, and all those guys. I worry a lot about that defensive player that they have. The one guy that the Ohio State guy, isn't he on the? Yeah, he's on the. I don't know his name. Anyway, went to Ohio State. Went out early.
Bosa.
I think that's him right there.
Bosa?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's dangerous. So
They're pretty good, though, the Chiefs. You might get it this year.
I think so. Hopefully. All right. Sorry to bore you all with my Chiefs talk. I just had to gloat a little bit. I'm still in shock. If I sound weird, it's because I'm in shock. And there may have been some alcohol involved
I knew
in watching
that was
game.
That was a mitigating factor.
So I'm still,
I knew that wasn't
I still have
water by you.
I have a little scotch over here that I'm drinking. That makes everything,
go down more smooth.
copacetic. So, yeah, if I start snoring or something like that during the thing.
I will not take it personally.
Okay.
All right, so some comings and goings during the week. Anything really noteworthy, you think? Maybe the one, the Cummings, the one that's arrived. What do you think?
Oh, you're talking. We're back to football.
Back to football. We gravitated away.
The
from
corner is that the JUCO corner that they signed, and I can't. We're gonna have to come up with a nickname for this guy. Is
Apaya Taki?
I don't know. Yeah.
Kenyan, I believe.
Emmanuel Apaya Taki, maybe, I don't know. We're going to have to come up with something. He's a JUCO corner that comes from Monroe College in New York. Had offers from a lot of people. He looks good. He plays way off the ball, though, which is something that something that kind of is a red flag for me. To play as well as he has, if you look at his film, he's like 10 yards off of the guy every time, which gives him a little bit of an advantage. And he's a ball hawk as far as intercepting the ball and stuff like that. So it's good for that. But then his coverage, if the guy goes the other way and he's 10 yards off of him, issues with that. So
you view this as some depth?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Do you also view this as maybe Bam Moore might not be 100% to start the season? You see that at all, or you just view it as a depth play?
They needed to get somebody. Neville Clark, that's a big spot to fill there. So this guy is tall and lanky like him. So I mean, I doubt that he's as good as he is. Obviously, it's pretty rare for a guy to be that good. So. I wouldn't necessarily compare him to him. He's tall and lanky like he was. But we'll see. I mean, you never know with these JUCO guys. Sometimes they can be exactly what they were in junior college in Division I, and sometimes they turn out to be a bust. So
you think the perception's changing a bit, though, amongst football fans when you hear that JUCO transfer?
It's just part of it. It's part of it. I mean,
so you shouldn't look down upon it and say, no.
Why would you look down upon guys that have college football playing experience? It's not Division I experience,
and that's the reason. That's the reason that I think people sometimes
it's still college football experience. I mean, there's a lot of kids in those JUCO colleges that are more than good enough to play in Division I, and a lot of them had issues. I mean, you see with the show on Netflix, The Last Chance U. Well, there's all kinds of players that were great 5-star and 4-star players that had to go the JUCO route for some reason. A lot of these players that are academically ineligible have to go the JUCO route. So it doesn't mean that they're bad players just because they played at JUCO. It means they have more experience than a freshman coming in. It means they have more experience sometimes than a sophomore or a junior.
Yeah, and I wasn't trying to imply that they weren't good players, but I think there's a little stigma attached to them.
There is, I think, just because I think that people don't understand it. So that's probably why there's the stigma there. But no, I mean...
And let's not forget, Tay Gowan.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay? And he had a pretty good year.
Yeah. Well, and Hughes, Mike Hughes, was a JUCO player. So... there's all kinds of JUCO players that we've gotten over the years that have been good. The other one, I guess, the going would be Jonathan McAllister.
Tight end.
Yeah. He had kind of a interesting story. He was one of the guys that came from Notre Dame. And he's not leaving. He's medically ineligible to play.
By UCF's
by
team
UCF's
physicians.
Physicians, which I think that they have very good physicians, and I would doubt, or it would be very liable if any other team would take him on, as far as that goes.
Well, that's what he said. It appears his options are to stay at UCF and finish his studies, or perhaps transfer elsewhere in hopes of playing football, to your point. Who's going to take a chance on him if UCF's team physicians...
Number one's who's going to take a chance on him, and number two, should he take a chance on it? Because
his health. Yeah.
You've seen what happens with these players. I mean, over the years. I mean, I have issues from playing football. I know I got a lot of concussions over the years. I have headaches. I have all kinds of stuff. I have anger management issues, believe it or not.
It's all coming out here, therapy.
Well,
so my nephew got concussed this weekend playing soccer.
Yeah, it happens.
I had to go with the doctor, see the doctor today, and then they have him going to see a physician and talk to him. And he's 15, and he just said he felt headachy.
Yeah,
just wanted to rest. Just felt like he had just had his wisdom teeth out. So he said it felt like he was under anesthesia again. That he was just all kind of foggy.
Yeah, and that's what happens.
Probably going to not have him practice all week, and you can imagine what it's like to be a football player.
Yeah, and when I played, when guys like Kyle Israel played, these concussions weren't looked at nearly the way they're looked at now. In fact, Kyle is working with some guys, and I think I've said this on here before, and he will tell us a lot more about this. He's working with a couple of former NFL players and Harvard University, actually, on a big concussion CTE program. That's what he's going to be doing very soon, and that's a really, really big deal.
I look forward to talking to him more about that.
Yeah, and I mean, the Aaron, what's the guy, the Gators player that was the Patriots, Aaron Hernandez.
I watched one part of it. I haven't gotten through the other two yet on Netflix.
That thing is on Netflix now, and that I haven't seen it yet either, but that talks a lot about the brain damage that he had, and you heard about like Junior Seau back in the day, a couple of years ago, that committed suicide, that was a great NFL player. So
Jonathan McAllister needs to think of his health before he thinks about football, and I'm sure he will take that into consideration. His legacy with UCF, 5 games this season, the 1 catch for 4 yards, a touchdown against Temple.
Yeah.
So
if he's listening, dude, seriously, take your health before anything else, because it's your brain. You're young. You have a lot of time to do things in life that are good. So just be careful, I guess. Sorry to see you go.
Yeah, I want to thank everybody who participated in all of the Twitter polling that we did throughout the week. The first 5. We'll roll out 5 more this coming week of Knightliner Awards. I was asked, well, who'd you vote for? And I said, well, we'll tune in to Knightline 219, and we'll talk about our picks. And so running back, the choices, want to hear your pick. Otis Anderson, Adrian Killens, Greg McRae, Bentavious Thompson.
I picked Otis Anderson because, I mean, obviously he had the greatest season, I think, out of all of them. It wasn't wonderful numbers by any means. I mean, yardage numbers. But he's just such a slash player that the things that he does out there, no matter where he's at, he could play defensive back, and be a good player. He's such a good athlete. So
54% of the votes went to Otis, so he ran away with this one.
One of the things that I worry about this thing a little bit is that it becomes a popularity contest, and that's not what we intended on when we did this. We want to know who you think the best. It's not who your favorite is; it's who the best is.
Yeah, well, and we'll get to why I think you're saying that in another category.
Okay.
Which he won.
Okay.
Which was special teams. I'll just skip to that one. He probably got that win for best special teams player.
Well, I mean, he was the punt returner and all that stuff. I think it should have gone to Dylan Barnes, personally.
Yeah. Otis with 48% of the vote for best special teams player. And Dylan, probably there's a case to be made that he was the best special teams player.
Absolutely. Yeah. Definitely. And there were a lot of votes in that one, too.
Yeah, a lot of... it was fun. I love when you engage with the players. Of course, not all of them are on Twitter. A lot of them are. Most of them are. But they repost everything, and they help us generate some votes. So Otis wins that one, 48% of the vote. Dylan at 38%. That's one where the vote, I think, would have been Dylan.
Yeah. Interesting how the offensive lineman one went out, and I almost think that's a little interesting because I didn't expect Parker Boudreaux to win that.
43%. Jordan Johnson at 36%. You would cast your vote for?
I voted for Cole Schneider.
Yeah,
believe it or not.
Yeah,
because he's not as well known as those guys, but he was a freshman All-American. People need to remember.
And this is the unit really probably most disappointing from what our preseason expectations were, and certainly was a factor in the 3 losses.
And then Jake Brown only getting 4%. That's a little crazy because he's a great player as well up there. So this is where I think this is more of a popularity contest than it is an actual who's the best player.
Defensive lineman, Kalia Davis, Brendan Hayes, Tremont Morris-Brash, Kenny Turnier. Your vote?
Kenny Turnier, I would say.
Pretty bunched up voting, though.
Yeah.
He ended up the winner at just 33% of the...
Not a lot of votes on that one either. Interesting that Tremont Morris-Brash came in third in that, behind Brendan Hayes and Kenny Turnier. Kalia Davis, also a great job. I'm really, really excited about Morris-Brash, though. I think he's going to become a very popular player and a very, very good player. Kalia Davis, too.
We're well positioned there in the 2020 season.
I think so. Yeah, definitely.
And then the final category for the week on Friday, voting for defensive back, Neville Clark, Antoine Collier, Tay Gowan, and Aaron Robinson. Kind of bunched up, but at the end, Neville Clark, I know a favorite of yours.
He's my favorite, but I didn't vote for him in this.
Following your standard of voting for who you thought had the best season?
I voted for Antoine Collier because I think that he had a great season, and he was very, very important. Neville obviously is important for what we were doing, but I just feel that Antoine had a great season, making big plays at big times when he needed to, and it was always solid back there. Not that Neville was not. I'm not saying that. I just think the best guy in that group, especially going forward, Antoine Collier.
And interestingly enough, of the 4, was the one that received the least amount of votes. Was Antoine Collier.
And this is what I'm saying. If you don't think that he had a great year, look at the stat book. And look at the interceptions that he had. Look at all the fumbles and forced fumbles and fumbles, all that. The turnovers. I think most of them were with him, to be honest with you. So... Yeah. Not saying that any of the rest of those guys aren't great, because they are, but I just...
This is another position that UCF is well
The
served
way I
going
vote
into
on these things, if you took one of these people away, who would make the most impact? So that would be one way to look at this. That's the way I kind of look at it. Who this season, if you took one of these names away, would have made the biggest impact? And that category was Antoine Collier.
So
hands down, as far as I'm concerned.
You think Knightline Nation got 2 categories right, or just 1 category right? And best running back of Otis Anderson, you disagree at DB, O-line, special teams.
I just think that it's more of a popularity contest.
D-line. So you think they got 2 out of the 5 right in terms of what was best?
In my opinion,
yes.
But I don't agree a lot of times with a lot of things that Night Nation says. Sometimes, obviously, but we agree. But there's definitely things throughout the season that I haven't agreed with, especially this season. So it's just my opinion, and you voted your opinion. I just wonder how, and maybe an Ask Knightline or something, or somebody can send us a message and say how you determine who you're going to vote for in this. Do you just click on a name that you are familiar with, or do you click on a name that you feel was the most important person?
The answer is probably a little bit of both.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, there are some people that probably approach it more seriously.
Andrew Osteen in the punter thing, or in the special teams, our punter that really did a great job this year, except a couple blocked punts. And they're not necessarily his fault. He didn't do a bad job at all, but he got 3% of the vote.
And this is an award, since we've been doing this, that had previously been won by Mac Loudermilk.
Right.
So.
And did you really notice that I almost got that backwards.
It's Scotch, right? Is
that
what it is?
I'm a little dyslexic anyway, but did you really, really notice all throughout the season that Mac Loudermilk was not there? Was it really an obvious difference with Andrew Osteen being the punter versus Mac Loudermilk?
Of course, then you factor in personality.
Well,
and Mac was
but
larger
not
than
personality.
life. I know,
I'm not talking about personality but as stats and as a player. I don't know because I haven't looked at both of their stats. I know that this is Andrew Osteen's first season kicking the ball for us. Mac Loudermilk had a little bit more of a group of punts for us to look at, and he was our punter, and he was very like you said,
larger than life
and all that stuff. But 3% of the vote would seem to think that he punted every ball out of bounds or something, or they were all like 20 yards.
Well, remember the 3% liked him.
Exactly. Yeah, though I'm with those 3%. I think you that was a good vote. So, and then the funny thing was somebody asked why our kickoff kicker wasn't on there.
Yeah.
And what was your response to that?
I tried to type it in, but it went off the side of the page.
It kept going out of bounds.
It kept going off.
Oh, that's
kept
funny.
Going off the page.
That's funny. Well, he's a good dude and came on here, and he will get better. Or he's going to have to, because I think he's kicking field goals for us this year.
Probably.
But I think he's a little bit better in those bounds versus... I don't know. We'll see. He's a freshman, though. So,
I want to thank everyone for voting. We will continue that in week 2 of the Nightliner Awards, and maybe we'll spin a third week.
We missed it here. The Packers finally scored, but then the 49ers scored again. So
yeah, that game is...
Lord have mercy.
Well over. Week ago, we were talking about the MLS Super Draft, and a couple of Knights drafted in that. The NWSL, the National Women's Soccer League, follows the MLS with its draft, and a UCF player, Konya Plummer, defensive standout, picked by the Orlando Pride, who certainly could use the defensive help. They were worst in the league in giving up goals, and their back line was a sieve. So Konya, the Americans' Defensive Player of the Year, of course, also had a stint with her native Jamaica during the World Cup. So she stays local for the Orlando Pride.
Let's say captained her native...
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's good.
Pretty huge.
Very good.
Of course, she may miss time again with the Olympic play coming up and qualifying and all of that. So congratulations to Konya, and a feather in the cap for UCF women's soccer that they have a top 10 draft pick.
Absolutely.
Staying locally with the Orlando Pride.
It's great.
Would like to see more of that connection between UCF, both men's and women's soccer, and the local pro
Well,
camps.
I mean, they've all started these clubs underneath them, the soccer teams, and it's going to take a while because a lot of those kids are fairly young to do that homegrown thing, that they try to do, the MLS and the NWSL, I guess.
Yeah.
So
takes a while to grow them up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And groom them.
Congratulations to Konya. Now, we talked about running backs a little bit. AK is gone, but there are plenty of backs back for UCF football. Straight ahead, our position-by-position reviews continue. We're going to take a look at the running backs.
Hey, this is Travis Dever, Kai's Real Estate, the Dever team, New Smyrna Beach. Your source for real estate and everything else New Smyrna Beach. Proud sponsor of Knightline and Knightline Postgame Live. Call me anytime at 386-690-1636. That's 386-690-1636. Let me show you my hometown, New Smyrna Beach, UCF's favorite beach. Go Knights and charge on.
All right, our position-by-position reviews continue. Last week, we started looking at the quarterbacks. Feel pretty good about where we are going into the 2020 season. And you got to say, you like where you're going into the 2020 season at the running back position. You lose Adrian Killens, and you're going to miss his speed. But, I mean, just listen to the names returning. We talked a little bit about him in the Nightliner Awards. Otis Anderson, Greg McCrae, Bentavious Thompson. Plus, you've got Demarius Good, Trillian Coles. Both of those two you didn't see much of, but you know the talent that they have.
Yeah. I think that this group obviously is extremely talented, especially those first three that you know, Otis Anderson, Greg McCrae, and Bentavious Thompson. I hope that we see a lot more of Greg McCrae next season. I would love to see more Bentavious Thompson, but I think, I don't know. Well,
remember, Greg was hurt.
Yeah, I was really excited to see what Greg McCrae would have done this year if he wasn't hurt. And I think it's always in a situation where the position group is so loaded. It's kind of good, obviously, for the guys behind a guy like Adrian Killens. Adrian Killens is gone now, so it's time for these guys to step up. So the production, obviously, is going to get a little bit better for somebody or here because a guy's gone. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm looking forward to this next season with these guys. Like I said, I really want to see Greg McCrae come back, but I would really, really love to see Bentavious Thompson as well.
Bentavious led the team with 8 touchdowns. 7 for Greg McCrae, 7 for Adrian Killens.
They're all similar, but they've all got something a little bit different as well. You know what I'm saying? So
Otis led the team in rushing with 740 yards on 113 carries. I remember you saying that you thought, I think you've said it really 2 years in a row. I'm curious whether you think it's possible now. You thought that there could be 2 guys that hit 1,000 yards, but it doesn't seem like in this offense, with the way the ball is distributed, that maybe you get 1.
Yeah. I thought that, I really thought Greg McCrae would have a great year because he hit 1,000 the year before with the loaded group as well. But then Bentavious came in a little bit more. Our running back numbers aren't really too exciting if you look at the overall stats because the ball gets spread out so much between a bunch of different guys. So you don't really give any one person the opportunity to do that.
To your point here, Otis Anderson, 740 yards. Adrian Killens, 647. Bentavious, 623. Greg McRae with 10 games versus the others had 12 and 13, 542.
So total that all up. What was the total?
13, 19, 24, 2,500 plus?
2,500 plus. So
Yeah.
there would be, if with the touches probably, if you gave 2 of these guys all those touches instead of 4 or 5 guys all those touches, there would have been 2,000-yard rushers probably.
Both Killens and Bentavious with 87 carries each.
Right.
And Bentavious with 90. Greg McRae with 98. But
Right.
it was Otis that led the team with 113.
Right. So if it wasn't so deep, that's why I kept, saying that, and I've said it over and over, is because it's a system that should and could produce 2,000-yard runners. It really could. We run a lot, and they're big runs a lot of the time. I mean, yes, there's a lot of short up the middle, but the big deal with this is, and where a lot of those yards come from, is those big long ones that they break. Bentavious, that's why his numbers were as good as they were, because his yards per average. Do you have that in there?
Bentavious average, he was second on the team with a 6.9 average. AK averaged 7.2 yards per carry.
Yeah. So the speed.
You talked about the team rushing. So the team had 559 carries. Opponents facing UCF had 546.
Yeah.
So fairly close, right? UCF 3,249 yards on the ground versus 2,383.
So 3,000 yards.
3,249 total.
So there's technically, if you split that between 3 guys, that would have been, you may have been able to irk 3,000-yard rushers.
This is divided by 11 guys that
I know.
count the rushing statistics.
Right.
Here's the one that's interesting. 34 touchdowns on the ground. Opponents rushed 14 touchdowns against UCF.
Yeah, it's
a sizable
the running
advantage
game is huge in this offense. It's huge. I don't know if I even have those yearly stats that you're looking at. I don't even know if
I'm
I
just
have
looking
them.
at this past season's stats,
Okay.
so I'm not comparing to previous.
Yeah,
but,
I don't know if I have I don't think I have a PDF of all the. It would be interesting because I like to look at stuff like that. But that's why I'm saying that there could be 2,000-yard rushers and possibly even 3.
Could, but you would go
If
into
it
this
was-
season not thinking that 2 guys would hit 1,000 yards.
No, just because of the way that it's all passed around.
Yeah.
I mean, Otis Anderson, he hasn't been capable of 1,000 yards yet. I mean, he hasn't hit 1,000 yards. Greg McRae is capable. We've seen that he's capable of 1,000 yards.
So obviously you want to see a return to health and a full campaign for Greg, and that'll be a big boost as
I think
well.
that'll be huge. I mean, he just didn't have it this year. I mean, really compared to what he was last year. And the group was loaded then too. I mean, it was the same. So I hope that he will come back and be as incredible as he was 2 years ago now.
Certainly has the potential for it.
Yeah. And I almost wish that they would just, really run one of those guys more than all of them put together.
How much of a loss is AK's speed?
I think it's definitely a loss, but there's nobody back here that can't do all of these. Otis Anderson has that speed. Bentavious Thompson has that speed. It's different, I think. It'll be interesting to see what it's like without AK out there. AK did a really great job at UCF. Imagine if he was the feature back the entire time, though.
Could he have withstood that?
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
And that's part of the thing about having small running backs, where they're not, big guys like Bentavious is. Compared, Greg McRae and Bentavious are a little bit bigger than Otis and AK. So,
be interesting to see with Otis how much more they might utilize him in the passing game, or if they're happy with what they got out of him.
I don't know. I mean, if he will be the feature back, or they'll any of these guys. The first 3, Otis, Greg, and Bentavious, all of those guys could be the feature back.
Or it's just more of the same, where everybody gets touches.
I'm just saying each of them are capable of being a featured back. I mean, I would think it's probably, I don't know.
I would think it'd be a 1-2 punch between Greg and Bentavious, that you might see Otis's numbers go down and maybe see more of him in the
That's
passing
what I
game.
would think, and that's what I would expect, and I kind of would like to see that. I would hate to see Otis Anderson not get as many touches and stuff because he's electric. I mean, I'm actually more of a fan, I think, of Otis Anderson than I was of AK as a runner.
As a runner.
As a runner. Just because Otis really, really makes things happen.
He's shifty.
He's speedy. He's not as fast as AK, I don't think. Just a little bit behind him, and he just really makes stuff happen.
Yeah.
AK, if he made the one cut on somebody and then was able to take off, that was where he really got his cheese and bread. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because I think what you just said there, Otis making things happen, might not be a phrase that you would think to say of AK first.
I don't think that AK made
I don't think that would be
I
what
mean, he
people
made
would...
some things happen, obviously, but and a great athlete, but
tremendous.
I think, and Greg McCrae is even a little bit different. Greg McCrae has the vision and the patience, and that's why he did so good. He sees a lot more that's going on, and Bentavious is really good at that too. That's more of the trait with those two guys. I think Greg and Bentavious is just being able to see the whole a little bit more and waiting for things to happen. They're not as fast as Otis and AK. Bentavious is pretty fast though. Greg McCrae, I don't think is horrible. I mean, he's fast, but he's not. I don't think he's AK Otis Anderson fast. His thing is more of the patience thing and hitting the hole at the right time and getting behind blockers and stuff like that.
Bottom line, though, we feel good about running backs going into 2020.
Absolutely.
Let me compare the two week to week now. Which one do you feel most confident about? The quarterback play going into 2020 or the running backs that UCF has returning? Again, this is an abundance of riches.
Yeah.
But who do you have the most confidence in of those two groups?
Wow.
Tough one.
It is a tough one.
Certainly more depth at running back right now.
There's definitely more depth at running back, so obviously, I mean, that's probably the answer to that question just because of that. But I'm pretty confident with the two quarterbacks that we really have. I think Dylan Gabriel is going to turn it on even more. I'm really looking forward to that. And then, obviously, Mac can do it as well out there. So,
tough one.
I don't worry about either one of these groups. There's nothing to worry about.
And that may be the right answer.
Yeah, I think that probably is my answer.
That may be the right answer.
Yeah.
Is that not a lot of concern about what is returning?
I don't think there's any
depth
concern.
is the question mark at quarterback if you lose someone to an injury for
Well,
any extended period of time.
There's still a lot of time in the transfer portal and other ways to get quarterbacks in here. There will be other quarterbacks in here. There will probably be, I would expect before the fall to see two.
Two more
quarterbacks.
Two more.
Yeah.
All right, so that's the look at the running backs next week. How about we combine wide receivers and the tight ends? Because the tight end is much easier to discuss now with Jonathan McAllister being medically ineligible and Anthony Roberson seemingly entering the transfer portal.
I don't even know who that leaves us with.
Jake Hescock.
Is he?
And then
He still has a year? I thought he was.
Yeah, and then some of the new recruits.
Yeah.
So we'll just combine those two. Of course, the big loss at wide receiver will be Gabe Davis.
That's an interesting group.
But we won't skip ahead till next week. So that's the homework.
I think we're going to have a freshman really step up.
That's
in that one.
Wide receivers and tight end group. We'll
Yeah.
combine those two. Then we'll hit the Super Bowl, and then we'll poke around the offensive line, which will be an interesting discussion.
Yeah.
And really, if this times out right, based on when spring camp opened last year, we should wrap these up right around the time spring camp opens.
Yeah, we got the draft coming up too, which we have a few guys that are going to be in that, and we'll see what they did. AK did a great job in the Reese's Bowl the other day.
Speaking of which, so 7 catches for 91 yards.
Yeah,
catches. Not much. Yeah, not much of a running back in
not,
that game.
I don't
but,
think that they're going to look at him as a running back.
We get asked
in
in Ask Knightline where we think some of these guys might go in the draft, so we can save that.
And Neville Clark did a great job in that game as well. They didn't
East-West
didn't
Shrine
throw at
game
him a lot. So
over at your favorite stadium, Tropicana Field.
Well,
surprised you weren't over there. Front row with the Clark family.
yeah, I don't know. I would have loved to, but I had stuff going on, so it's been a busy weekend. So
gotcha. So they did well, and I was tied up related to basketball, so I didn't get to see it, but followed on social media.
I have it recorded. I still haven't watched it, but I've seen highlights. So, and Neville Clark was kind of the guy all week that they were really paying attention to. I really think that he's going to do well in the draft. I'm excited to see what happens with him. So,
two other guys, Nate Evans, Jordan Johnson, accepting invitations to participate in the Hula Bowl. That's coming up a week from now, Sunday, January 26th, airing on the CBS Sports Network. Shocker that Jordan might want to make a return to Hawaii after spending some time out there with
that's
Mackenzie
great.
and his family.
That's absolutely awesome for those two guys. And there's one more. What was this one that was here? Was that the Senior Bowl? No, that wasn't the Senior Bowl. That was
one in St. Pete was the East-West Shrine game.
East-West. I thought it was. I said Reese's earlier. That's not the Reese's one. You may see a couple of our guys in those other ones too. These guys can play, I believe, in multiple bowls. Those multiple. Because I think AK and Neville, I believe, had invitations as well to the Reese's Senior Bowl games. So
all of these games, good showcases for them.
Oh, it's extremely valuable if you want to get drafted, before the combine, and it's a great opportunity for them to see you on the field. And it's NFL coaches most of the time coaching these things, and scouts are out. I mean, that's who that crowd was more than anybody else. Was
there may
NFL
not have been
scouts.
any other people but scouts.
There were scouts and family members, probably.
Yeah, probably. Congratulations to UCF Athletics Hall of Famer Dan Burke, who played on UCF's first football team back in 1979. He has been inducted into the Florida Athletic Coaches Association's Hall of Fame after a long and successful career as head coach at Palm Bay High in Brevard County. 23 years, took the team to postseason play 21 times, won 2 state championships along the way.
Awesome. Very cool.
Pretty good career when you're in multiple Hall of Fames.
Yeah.
Huh?
Definitely.
Both as a player and as a coach. So Congratulations to him. You mentioned him earlier, Mike Hughes. It seems like his career now a little bit injury-riddled in the pros.
It has been, yeah. That's a bummer for him. I hope that he will be able to finally get healthy at some point.
Kind of shuddered when I read broken vertebrae in his neck. To your medical knowledge,
I didn't know that. He's got a broken vertebrae in his neck. Oh, wow. I didn't know.
Hard to come back from?
Man.
Sounds like it.
Could be. I don't know how much damage you could take. I don't know which one it is, number one. And, wow. Yeah, that's bad. I didn't know that. That's a bummer for him.
Yeah.
He had an ACL.
Yeah.
And then an ankle or something for a while. And now this.
Wow.
That's horrible.
Whenever you use the word vertebrae, then you start to get nervous.
Yeah, I mean...
Just like we were talking about Jonathan McAllister, concussions and things like that.
A broken vertebrae is a broken neck, if you don't understand that. The vertebrae are your neck bones. And that could be easily said broken neck. So that's a big deal. So, I don't know the extent of it and all that stuff, but...
I don't know how much more is known about it than that.
This is another person that I would seriously think about playing the game with injuries like that. Because you break a vertebrae the wrong direction and goes into your spinal cord, and you don't walk for the rest of your life, or maybe even worse than that. So that's a really, really big deal. Horrible for him. That's a bummer. I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of sad now.
Yeah, that's a tough injury.
Yeah.
Tough injury. So, a couple weeks away from the XFL. What's your excitement level about spring football, in particular the XFL? What would you put yourself? 1 to 10, 10 being you're unbelievably excited?
Definitely not there. Maybe a 6.
6. So you plan to watch some games
Oh,
on
yeah.
TV?
I'm waiting for... I'm luckily, like we were talking about earlier, my team is in the Super Bowl for the first time in 50 years. Again, I say 50 years. 1969.
Stressing for the record.
So I'm just beyond excited for that. And then, so I've still got a player in the game in the NFL. So
no Knight's going to be in this Super Bowl, though. So that's a bit of a disappointment.
We don't have any on Kansas City, huh? Even on our practice squad or anything? Huh?
Not to my knowledge.
Not
since the Ja Reed days.
Yeah, there was Ja Reed, and then Jacoby Glenn was on there for a while. I don't know whatever happened to him, but I'm excited about it. I mean, I'll definitely watch it. I can't wait. It's going to be interesting with all the changes.
Some rules changes.
Yeah, the rules are pretty interesting, and it will be just like last year because we had the Apollos for a few games.
cup of coffee.
Hopefully this lasts a little longer than that. I believe that it will. Hopefully we get a good season of football from them. How many games do you know?
10.
They're playing 10 games. Okay.
And that was the plan for the Apollos, too.
Right.
So that did not happen.
There's a little bit more money behind this, though.
A lot more money.
Yeah. And they're going to be played on national television anyway and all that stuff.
ABC, ESPN, Fox, FS1.
They're spreading it all around. Yeah. Everybody's getting in on it. I mean, I can't wait. How long is that supposed to go up to? I mean, when will the end of their season be?
It's 10 weeks. So they start the week after the Super Bowl. And then
so
they go for 10 weeks. So we'll be
right
into April, May.
That'll take us right into spring football.
Spring camp. Yeah, well, probably overlap in April.
Yeah.
Probably overlap.
So that'll be interesting.
Well,
I haven't really picked a team yet. I guess Tampa.
Well, it's got 4
with
nights.
our guys on there. Yeah.
So then it's easier to. They're close.
I don't like their colors.
No,
because they look slimy
just
as
like
well.
The slime green.
Yeah, they look like they could get slimed a couple times.
They have something in common with their brethren in South Florida. They both play in the Bucks rented stadium.
Jeez, I'm gonna laugh if the XFL has more fans than the Cows.
The Cows
for home games.
I don't think that'll happen.
You know, that was the first time I'd ever been in that stadium, by the way, for the Gasparilla Bowl. It's a nice little stadium.
You weren't over when Mackenzie got hurt? You
no,
didn't go over for that
I wasn't
game?
there. I was here because I was doing post-game live.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, nice little rented stadium that the Cows use. Mm-hmm. It's a nice stadium. I liked it. The club level and all that is beautiful.
Well, when you think of them, you think of pirate ships. So, they're such an easy target. Back to the Vipers. Preseason camp continues for the Vipers. They're all 8 teams are in Houston, so they're all practicing there. 4 former Knights on the roster. The interesting note this week was that Rennell Hall has made the switch from wide receiver to cornerback.
I'm excited about that, actually. I think he will be a great corner. That may help him tremendously.
Kind of makes the switch towards the tail end of camp, though. I hope that doesn't impact his ability to make a roster spot at that position.
Yeah,
but,
I don't know. Do they make cuts and all that?
Those cuts are coming this week.
Oh, they are.
So I got to watch our 4 Knights.
Okay.
Terrence Plummer, Matthew Wright, Rennell Hall.
I think Rennell Hall,
McCraig.
if he doesn't succeed here, needs to really look at Canada to play in. I think he would be really good in that game up there with his speed.
Hadn't he been there?
He hasn't been there yet.
No, he hadn't gone to Canada yet?
I don't think so.
Well, center Jordan McRae is excited about the team's inaugural season.
Camp is so important. All of us are coming from different places, have played in different schemes, so to be able to come in here and learn the offense or learn the defense and just gel together, playing next to a new guy that you probably never played with before. So camp is vital for that, and definitely really excited for the first game, get to go out there, national TV, and play the game I love.
All right, as you said, the Vipers make their cuts on January 22nd and return to Tampa to continue preparations for the season opener. Tampa Bay kicks off at the New York Guardians on Sunday, February 9th. The Vipers' home opener takes place during the week 3 on Saturday, February 22nd when Tampa Bay hosts the Houston Roughnecks.
I want to thank the Vipers media relations staff for helping us out with sound.
It's been good to you.
Yes.
Very cool.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
It's good.
Checking out other men's basketball scores in the American besides UCF's 1-point victory over South Florida. Houston rolled into Wichita State to take a 65-54 victory. Second straight loss now for the Shockers. Tulsa defeated Tulane 67-54. That means Tulsa and Houston right now lead the conference at 4-1. UConn lost to Villanova 61-55. And it was SMU beating Temple 68-52. I'm Jeff Allen. We'll look at all recent basketball scores in the American as well as continue our team-by-team profiles on this week's AAC report only on the Knightline Sports Network.
Thank you, Jeff Allen. Heard exclusively only on the Knightline Sports Network. I like how he says it. Take a look at your Knightline planner. Women's basketball heads to New Orleans. January 22nd game with Tulane. Then UCF welcomes Memphis on the 25th at 2 p.m. Track and field is at the Rod McCravey Invitational in Lexington, Kentucky. I can't say Kentucky. Jeez, you'd think I could say Kentucky. On the 24th and 25th. Men's tennis heads west, taking on San Diego on the 25th at the ITA kickoff weekend in Los Angeles. More action then follows the next day. Women's tennis faces Utah on the 25th and the ITA kickoff in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and then they'll play some more matches after that. 50 years ago, well, that's when the Chiefs were last in the Super Bowl, as we've been talking about, and men's basketball beat something called Massey Tech. We look back with a member of that original team. But first, we're going to be talking about this year's team and its win over the Cows with Ben Stout, only on Knightline number 219. Spice up your company with homemade marketing services from Tasty Gravy Creative. Tasty Gravy serves up a menu of budget-friendly marketing, graphic design, and public relations services customized to your specific goals. Co-owned by a UCF graduate, Tasty Gravy can help refresh your brand, strengthen your online presence, or reinforce your company's message. Contact Tasty Gravy for help with your website, social media, marketing, advertising materials, and more. Visit tastygravy.com. All right, we've been talking about it. UCF men's basketball wins its second straight game after the 0-4 start in league play. And what better opponent to get that W?
Yeah.
The Cows. UCF beats them 55-54. That followed the great win on the road at Tulane. And the win over the Cows, UCF's 9th straight. I'm bad.
Still blown away by that win at Tulane. That was
was impressive.
I mean, it was crazy. Like I was sitting there like, well, where did this come from? Where did this team come from? The horrible way that they had played a couple of games before that. Where did this team come from?
Well, that'll be the laggard. You know, the defense is usually there. Can they get enough offense? You see they're holding teams 54-55. They win nearly every game in the Johnny Dawkins era when they hold an opponent under 60. So if you're looking for a stat when you're watching a game, if UCF holds an opponent under 60, UCF almost always wins in the Dawkins era. Over 60, and it gets dicier for UCF. But now the Knights are 2-4 in league play and 11-7 overall. And always good in the post game when you follow up a win. Everybody's happier.
As always, when you're in a rival and it's a rival game, it's going to end up being this way. And it comes down to the wire. I thought both teams played their heart out. And I'm just glad we just made, one more play at the end than they did.
All right, don't have a lot of clips here, but I do have a clip. The next one coming up here is you had a lengthy exchange again with Johnny Dawkins. You and him are like, you can just talk. You have just a conversation.
We've got chemistry.
You do have chemistry, absolutely. And I love it because I'm sure the other media guys are just kind of looking at you like, dude, you asked like 4 questions in a row. Here is 3 of them, though, that you talked to with Johnny Dawkins.
You needed your defense when your offense struggled.
Definitely. That's been our identity ever since we've been here. We got to find ways to get stops. And then, when we're scoring, I think we become really good at what we do. And when we're not scoring, defense keeps you in games and gives you a chance to win like tonight. Like this, to me, tonight's game was a defensive win. We're talking about winning the game 55-54 in this day and age in college. So that was terrific D by both teams, to be quite frank. It says a lot about both teams.
Another game where Colin gets into the early foul trouble. How much does that throw your game plan off?
We don't throw us off anymore. It's because we're used to it. Colin, we know. No, we need Colin out there. We know who he is. And but we've been in a situation, like we said, by being in games like this so many times, no different than being in foul trouble in the first half of Colin so many times. I think our guys are, understanding their roles and understanding what they need to do, in his absence. And I thought Avery and Ibrahim gave us some good minutes, and they were able to kind of, hold it together until we get to halftime and get Colin back.
What does Colin need to do not to get himself in that?
Like I've said, he needs to understand his value. When you understand your value as a player, you don't put yourselves in position to pick up, fouls after you've picked up one. And so he picked up one foul. At that point, you have a heightened, alert of, I cannot pick up this next foul no matter what. And he hadn't quite got over that yet. This one was a little bit different. It was one of those plays that was the young man's dribbling at him. He is kind of losing out of bounds, and there's some contact. I mean, some of that you're not going to be able to do anything about because he's no longer playing like the four or anything. He's our center now. So he's kind of around those plays with other centers. So there's a lot more contact for him. And I think that's what he's learning now. Like Taco absorbed all that contact in years past, or Chad. Now he's having to absorb all that. So unlike a perimeter guy who can kind of hands off some guys and I'm away from some plays so I can stay safe, it's hard for him to stay safe because a lot of the action is coming towards him all the time, and so he has to make some decisions that a little quicker than most perimeter players. But he'll get better from it. I think this game, there's some good film on it. We have some good film from some previous games. I think that he will improve. I don't foresee that being, something that's going to happen for us all season with Colin.
Did you ever consider bringing him back in the first half? You just wanted to ride it out?
No. I told him when he came out, stay ready because you're more than likely going to put you back in the game. And I just decided not to because we were able to it was a 2-point game, either way to pretty much the whole first half. So I decided to leave him out safer and not pick up his third. But if I felt funny about it or I didn't like, the rhythm we were in offensively or something was going wrong defensively, I don't have a problem, sticking a veteran player back in the game, someone who's as old as Colin is.
Trace, let the other guy. There was 4 there.
There were other people asking questions.
Let the other guys have a turn.
You didn't play those sound bites. Other people asked questions. You just cobbled those together.
No, those were not cobbled together. That was one exchange. That was 4 questions.
There are other people in the room
I'm
asking
calling
questions.
You Jim Acosta here soon. Let the other people have. Soon he's going to tell you that you're fake news and you can't have any more questions.
Here's the thing with Coach Dawkins. I really enjoy being a part of those exchange because I feel like I come away with an answer and I feel like I learned something about his thought process, about the way the team is prepared for games. I feel like I learned something in his responses. And, of course, it's in sharp contrast to what you experienced during football season. So I just enjoy being relaxed, sitting there, having a
guy
conversation.
that'll actually answer your questions and be real with you? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Knightline's own 7-footer, Ben Big Social Stout, and Inside the Paint.
Let's talk about it with former Knights men's basketball player Ben Stout, who joins us on the Knightline hotline. Ben, a pair of victories this week. That is a big change from the previous 2 weeks of AAC play for the Knights.
Yeah, I'd say it definitely was a week where you saw the talent shine through that we knew that this team had, and a lot of things just started coming together. We started making shots, we started making the right plays, and we're able to pull off 2 victories. One in seriously convincing fashion on Tuesday night at Tulane, which is a team that hasn't lost at home this year, and we were able to pretty much dominate from start to finish in that game, and then yesterday, a home game against the Cows, 1-point victory, kind of like a nail biter at the end there. You didn't know what was going to happen, but I'm glad we pulled it out. It was certainly a good week to see some positive things out of this team.
Knights give up 55 to Tulane in the 74-55 win, give up 54 to the Cows in the 55-54 win. As Johnny Dawkins always says, this is going to be a defense-first team, and we saw it play out this week.
Yeah, they certainly were able to lock down both opponents on the defensive end. Dawkins deployed, mostly used his zone defense, and they were just kind of flying around. And they gave up some open looks from three, but they must have seen some things on tape to kind of allow that, which we've seen that be the strategy before. But really made sure that the passing lanes were all covered up. They were flying around on defense, and it was definitely great to see, because that type of energy that they were getting on the defensive end was really feeding into both ends of the floor.
When a lot of the fan base was ready to give up on Matt Milon, Coach Dawkins was staying with him and thought that he'd turn a corner, and we've certainly seen that recently and, most importantly, this week.
Yeah, Matt's really stepped up. I mean, you started to see some flashes of it as conference play started, but really the last three games, I saw like a crazy stat that he's made more threes the last three games than he did the first 14 games of the season. So he's come on strong. Dawkins, as I said, in any type of media availability that I've been able to listen to, he said that he's always been confident in him, and he's always, seen what he can do and know that he'll be able to kind of settle in and find his own and find his place in this offense. And luckily for us and luckily for him, he's remained confident and he started to hit his stride. And then some of the things you heard after the game yesterday, in the huddle before he hit that huge three with about a minute and a half left to cut the lead to 2. Apparently he was the one that was the most vocal in the huddle, saying, "Hey guys, we got this. We're down by 5, but we're they've made their run, but everybody be calm. We've got this. We're going to win this game." And sure enough, after he says that to his guys in the huddle, he comes out and just hits that huge three from the left wing there, and it was deep too. I was kind of behind that basket there, and it was a long ways, and he knocked it down, and we really needed it. That's for sure. So it's great to see Matt catching fire.
Dazon Ingram with 15 at Tulane, 11 in the Saturday night win over the Cows. We had spoken about needing and wanting to see more from him, more veteran leadership, a hunger from him. I think we saw that over these 2 games.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've definitely seen it. And I think this is we're seeing what the type of caliber, the type of talent that Dazon Ingram is, and it's the reason why, myself included, Knights fans were been a little frustrated recently over Dazon's play, but certainly, and I know for a fact, before that Tulane game, he showed his teammates, he showed his coaching staff through not only his words but his actions and in the practices and the walkthroughs and everything leading up to that Tulane game to give Dawkins enough confidence to kind of give him a start again after his first non-start of the year at Cincinnati, and he certainly stepped up and he was more aggressive, and he showed that he was ready to lead this team. You mentioned 15 points at Tulane, but he had 16 rebounds and 7 assists as well. So he was kind of filling up the stat sheet there, but he was leading this team when we really needed. And I said to my buddy that I was at the game with yesterday, right before the final play on offense when we were down 1 yesterday, I said, this has got to be a drive by Dazon. Dazon's got to get in the paint. I hope they're running a play where he drives to the basket. And sure enough, that's what we did. He got the foul and he knocked down both free throws. He stepped up big time, and I think that this is what we're going to see the rest of the season out of him, and that's super exciting to see both of our senior transfers step up and show their brand of leadership and come through for this team, because we're looking for that out of those guys, and I hope they continue to show it.
That notion there of a more experienced team was not lost on the Cows head coach Gregory in the postgame, saying that in the 2 wins, Coach Dawkins has had a more experienced roster out there.
Mm-hmm. Yes, definitely. we've shown some better experience, and I think that's coming from the seniors stepping up. But really, nobody on this team. I was just talking about with some guys before the game at an event yesterday, but just nobody on this team necessarily has had to really step up and be the focal point of their given, team that they played on until this year. I mean, even Colin Smith, right? So he was the fourth option last year. Cesar De Jesus certainly has never been in that role before, and even Dazon Ingram coming in, he had some seriously talented teammates on his teams at Alabama. And so I think that's what we were seeing in some of the struggles, especially when the weight of the conference play started. I think that they were looking around and trying to figure out who that leader could be. But that experience, that willingness to step up and be a leader both vocally and through actions is shining through with Dazon, Matt, and certainly Colin Smith as well. When he is able to be in the game, he's not in foul trouble. He's contributing in all aspects of the game, and so we're seeing some guys step up, and it's great.
Speaking of Colin, you mentioned it there, early foul trouble, and I felt like I was recycling a question I have asked a time or two to Coach Dawkins in the post game when I said to him, Colin gets in the early foul trouble, how does that impact your offense? And he made light of it and said, well, we're kind of used to that by now. Not that he was happy about it. He's frustrated by it, but they've seen that before. What do you see? Is it just a lack of smart play that gets him in that early foul trouble?
Well, I think he's being kind of, he's the focal point of our team on both ends of the floor. He's our best player, best all-around player, and I think that's the scouting report of these teams that we're facing are certainly keying in on him as a guy that they need to attack to see if they can get him in some early foul trouble. And I think that's essentially what we're seeing, is that he's the guy in the paint that they're trying to drive at his chest and see if we can create some fouls. But on top of that, I think Dawkins has done a good job of expressing this, and even Colin in some interviews that I've heard of him. I think Dawkins said something to the effect of Colin needs to understand his value to this team in that aspect of the game where he can't be absent for long periods of time because he's in foul trouble. And I thought that was a kind of an interesting line by Dawkins to express to Colin that he is a really important part of this team, and we, like it or not, used to it or not, we're a different team when he's in the game versus when he's not. And so I'm hoping that he can continue to play smart and continue to be able to stay out of foul trouble, especially early on. I mean, with 16 minutes where he was out of the game in the first half yesterday. So I'm hoping that he's able to just kind of understand the times where he needs to maybe reach for the ball or maybe just be straight up and just try to, instead of a block a shot, change a shot. And so he can stay in the game and continue to add value to what we got going on the court.
I want to throw you one of the questions in our Ask Knightline inbox from @Sublime_Night. With this premise, he writes, there's 20 seconds left. We're down by 1 and inbounding the ball. Who are we trying to get the ball to take the final shot?
How many seconds are left again?
20.
20 seconds left. Okay.
20 seconds left.
I just wanted to make sure you didn't say 3 seconds left or something like that. I think that situation describes pretty well what the situation that we were in yesterday. And I said before that play went down, when they're in the timeout, I said I hope that they run a high ball screen for Dazon Ingram and let him get in the paint and either create for himself, finish through contact, which he's so good at, or create an inside pass to Colin Smith or another one of his teammates. I think in that situation, you want to be able to kind of spread the floor a little bit, maybe have a high ball screen to get him loose in the paint. But that's certainly the spot where I want Dazon Ingram going at the basket and using his size and strength at the guard position and trying to finish through contact. down by one, that's absolutely what I'm looking at.
All right, the Knights win this one 55-54 Saturday night. Go back earlier in the game, and a technical assessed on UCF for confetti on the court. Imagine now, had UCF lost by a point, that would have stung. Have you seen something like that as a player?
Yeah, I'd say. And that was just a weird thing. I mean, from watching it from the stands, just saying, why are we shooting a technical again? And then we realized what happened. That's something that I've seen a lot at UCF basketball games. And so I don't know. I guess something happened where they got a little bit out of hand and some confetti got on the court, and that's where it became a problem. But it was just an odd thing that happened there where some confetti got on the court and they caused that technical. So, I mean, you're right. That would have been awful if we would have lost by 1 point. And then looking back on it, I didn't even think about that one technical in the beginning of the game. But I guess that reaction that we've tried to start for that first points of the game, the confetti going on. Hopefully, those guys can just move a few rows back next time and still do the thing, but make sure it doesn't get on the court so we don't have to be punished for it.
2 more games before UCF goes to Tampa. Just one this week. Kind of a house of horrors for UCF at Wichita State, but no midweek game. UCF now on the 2-game winning streak, 2-4 in conference play. Boy, they've got to play their best and then some to win at Wichita.
Yeah, Wichita is a beast. They're an extremely tough team. They have 3 players that average in double figures. They have a really balanced scoring attack. They have played some tough competition this year and been up to the task almost every time. They've had an odd streak themselves recently where it's not necessarily a streak, but they have dropped some kind of weird losses. Some games they lost at Temple by a wide margin that was strange, and then of course losing to Houston is who's no slouch themselves. But they're a balanced scoring attack. They know how to win. They have played some great competition this year and been up to the task most of the time. So we are going to have to play our absolute best basketball of the season to have a chance in this game. Make no mistake about it. But hey, college basketball has been pretty weird this year. I mean, we had 7 or 8 number ones go down to unranked, to either unranked teams or teams that they certainly weren't expected to lose to in the beginning of the season. We've had all sorts of shockers all throughout the college basketball, all throughout the sport this past season. So who knows? Nobody expected them to go at Temple and to Temple to beat them by 12. That's for sure. And so nobody's going to count us in for this game. And let's see what we can do and see if we can shock the world. And it kind of has that same feel, in my opinion. It kind of has that same feel as that Houston game last year where nobody gave us a chance and we went in there and played great and came out of there with a win. So hopefully we can do some good things.
All right, now it's time for Andrew's question of the week, because I normally don't talk in these basketball segments, but this is what I want to know. I want to know if this team has turned the page in some way, and what has happened to make them play so much better than they did, a couple of weeks ago, especially this starting with this Tulane game where they went up there and it was a completely different team than I wasn't expecting that at all. In fact, I think I texted you, did somebody steal our uniforms because these aren't our players? Is this, you think that this is where it's going to go? Are they going to get some fire underneath them and start winning again?
I do. And I think that what happened is that that a lot of our players on our team kind of took a long look in the mirror and said, this is not the way I want this season to go. And they acknowledged it. They talked about it with their teammates, and they had a bit of a session and that happens sometimes. It happened on the teams that I was a part of, where teams get together and the players come together and they say, enough is enough. This is not the way I want this season to go. And they have very honest conversations with themselves and they do what it takes to turn it around. And I think that, to use the old Mike Tyson line, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. And I think that the first few games of the conference slate, they got punched in the face and they were doubting who they were. And something happened within that locker room, within the practice court before that Tulane game, where they said enough is enough and we're going to come together and we're all going to step up and do our part. And I think that's just the perfect showing of that occurred in the Tulane game. And we saw it for stretches yesterday. It was just kind of a weird defensive game that I don't think either team played their best, but it was hopefully, because we got the win, it was probably a good thing that they had a blowout victory and then kind of a close, gritty, tough it out, win it at the end victory as well. So probably two good examples of games that could turn a season around, and I'm hoping that we continue to see it, whether we win at Wichita State or not. You just want to continue to see that fight and that fire that they've shown in the last couple of games. So I'm looking forward to it.
All right, Ben. Well, thank you very much. We greatly appreciate your insight, and we will talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you guys very much, and have a good show.
Always good to hear from Ben. I ran into him Saturday at Burger U before the Cows game. He participated in a little celebration with the 50th anniversary team that was recognized during Saturday night's game. 50 years ago, men's basketball started as a club team. It is hard to imagine that. Of course, it wasn't UCF back then. It was FTU. They would climb to Division II shortly after. That first season, 69-70 season, saw the men go 11-3. They won 99-38 at Massey Tech in their first game.
Is that like the pest control school or something, Massey Tech?
I don't know. Of course, UCF recognized members of that first team during the game, the pregame event at Burger U. I was very fortunate to be invited to that, and when asked to come, of course, have an opportunity to go out there and meet some of those guys. Some of the names I knew, a couple of them I didn't. First up, Rudy Jesse, a guard who came to FTU from Orlando's Colonial High School.
50 years of UCF basketball. How does that feel?
Well, I tell you what, I love the sport, and after 50 years, somebody's coming back and saying and recognize what we did. It's probably the first time I really felt important about something. So yeah, it's unbelievable, and it's a great honor to have somebody recognize us.
Back then, though, you didn't think of yourselves as trailblazers, did you?
Nope. We were actually just loved the sport. We came from club teams, intramural teams. We had names like Has-Beens, the Ogres, and we all got together. And then all of a sudden we had a coach called Dean Brunson that started off just on club basis. And then Torchy Clark came. And that's where it started, Torchy Clark.
What was it like to play under Torchy Clark?
Everybody knows he had his temper. He was a great man. Any out-of-town game that we had, the first thing we'd do was make sure he had a church to go to. Because he believed in he was a Catholic, and he believed in that. To play for him, you better play, you better hustle, or he'd let you know about it. And you didn't want to sit beside him during a game, because that was the person that took a lot of the blows, the punches, or the yelling.
Was that you at some point?
Not as much as maybe Russ Salerno. He was more like the assistant coach, and he took most of it. Fortunately, a lot of times I was playing, so I didn't have to get it on the bench.
You guys started out pretty well. Did that surprise you?
It surprised us because we weren't sure, being walk-ons and people from the area, West Palm Beach, Brevard, Orlando, and it was just a bunch of people that loved the sport that got together. So how we were going to do, we weren't sure. We didn't know that we had the coach that Torchy was, and he was phenomenal. And he was the one that made it all happen, made us play our best.
Back then, of course, it was FTU. Did you come to FTU because that's where you wanted to get your education, or how did basketball figure into that decision?
Well, FTU was close by, and it was a technological school mostly set up for people who wanted to go to engineering or to Cape Canaveral, where NASA was. So very early on, in '69, when I started there, it was more than just that. We were at the administration building and a library. And being close by, I thought this is going to be good. So I ended up there, but coming back from where I was at St. John River Junior College, I came back because of the athletic director in Torchy Clark. And you just didn't realize at the time where we were going. No gym, no mascot, actually no uniforms to start off with. 2 games we had to borrow uniforms. One was from Rollins, and we went to an academy that we played, and we didn't have all the uniforms. That was within our first 2 years.
Did it make you hungrier?
It made us hungry, but we loved the sport. So just to be able to play was phenomenal to us. But to have the coach, a legendary coach at the time, we didn't know. But we look back at it, some of the best times of my life.
And can you have imagined that it would have grown the way it has over
Who could
the last
have?
50 years?
No. Who could have? I moved down here in 1964. My dad was in the service, the Air Force. We moved down here before Disney, before FTU, before UCF. And it was a small town then. But for where it is at today, I'm still shocked at where I'm at and where we started, and we had a little part in it. And that's amazing to me.
And you bounce around where you play games, you're borrowing equipment, and now they play in a state-of-the-art arena on campus.
Who could have thunk it? It's just unbelievable. I'm just glad to be a part of it, and it's amazing. Guys are a lot taller. They play anybody in the United States, I'm just glad that it was part of my life.
What's it like to catch up with former teammates?
I could talk all day. We talked about everybody has memories, and a lot of it was about Torchy Clark, and what we did and how we played. But it was all about the love of the sport and playing together. And it's even though it's been 50 years, I've talked to some of these guys. You give them a hug, it's like you never left them. That's a good feeling.
Does it seem like it has been that long, or does it just go by like a blink?
It goes by in a blink, and I can't believe that I'm here today. And it was my son that helped put this together, maybe to help Dad, to help the program, but whatever it was, it's a beautiful thing to see all these people that are come together just to recognize that there was a start and we were there in the beginning.
That was pretty cool to get to catch up with some of those old-timers.
Yeah. Our celebration of 50 years of UCF men's basketball will continue. Next week, we'll hear from another one of those original players, talk to a bunch of guys, figure it's hashtag content in the off-season, one a week for several weeks, and we'll get to hear their various stories from borrowing equipment to the various places they practiced and just some of their experiences in that first year and those first couple of seasons building the program that we now know and love.
Very cool. Very cool.
Island H2O Live, a new wave of water park.
Experience the next generation of fun at Island H2O Live. You choose the music, you choose the lighting, and you choose where to share your memorable moments at Florida's newest and most immersive water park.
Island H2O Live.
Now open in Kissimmee, located off US 192 and State Road 429 on Inspiration Boulevard.
Island H2O Live.
All right, back to our Island H2O Live giveaway. This week's winner, she goes by UCF Girl on Twitter, a.k.a. at KimTom 0416421 So very cool. UCF Girl, give us a message on there, giving us your email address, and we will get you hooked up with the Island H2O giveaway. It's warm now. It's
going to be chilly this week.
I know, but the water out there is 80 degrees at all times. So just remember that. I know, but when you're in there, when you're in the water, you can float around the lazy river. 80 degrees in there. So very, very cool. It's about time. I cannot wait for water park season again.
It'll be soon enough.
I'm missing it. So, and I can't wait till I can swim in my own pool as well because it is freezing cold. It's like 60 degrees.
Getting a new Speedo this year?
No, I'm putting in.
Sorry,
big,
folks. Sorry for those of you driving.
I'm actually putting in big bushes around. No. Anyway. Oh, boy.
That's too much information.
Just joking.
Giving away more this week? Are we reposting all of that?
Yeah, let's do that again. Yeah, let's do it the same way. We got to figure out some other stuff.
I like when we ask for the 5-star reviews.
Well, we made
your ego's big and needs to be
we
fed.
made the big switch to Spreaker. Yes, there was a technical difficulty. I've got that solved this last week. There were some people that had trouble listening, but some people can leave us some reviews on there as well on Spreaker. If you are one of the people that listens on SoundCloud, I just have a little PSA for you. SoundCloud, our SoundCloud feed will probably go away soon because I've made the switch completely over to Spreaker. It allows us to distribute to a lot more services. Also allows us to get a little bit of revenue, which is good. So if you could, please bear with those commercials that are at the beginning and the ends. Really, really appreciate you just listening to those and those getting counted that you listen to them, because that is money in our pockets. So that's a very good thing. But anyway, I just want to warn people, please follow the Spreaker feed. The webpage that they have for us is really nice on there. You can sign up and all that stuff and get their app is awesome. So please do that. Just a warning, like I said, the SoundCloud thing will probably go away soon. So it will still go to all the places that it goes now, but that, except for that feed. I'm not sure when I'm going to disband that one, but it's coming. So be ready.
What happened to the other dealio you do? The Sunday show.
We're working the details out on that. They're
on hiatus.
We're just taking a little break. But news should be coming on that later this week. I should know what the plan is for that. It's radio, so there's a lot of things and people involved. So I have a meeting coming up this week about that, and we should know kind of where we stand a little bit more later on in the week. So early in the week, probably.
Got a question that you can ask during that meeting, or of course just answer on Knightline. What do you think of calling the cows the Southwest Florida slime?
I love it.
That is one of the questions in our Ask Knightline inbox. We will dig into that when Knightline 219 returns.
Oviedo Brewing Company is the hottest microbrewery in Central Florida. Located 7 miles from UCF at the Oviedo Mall, this 8,800 square foot brewery just opened its doors 6 months ago and has already crafted 13 unique beer flavors and counting in their tap room. The tap room contains different styles of beverages, including ciders, wines, and craft sodas. Not only do they have amazing beers, they also have a full kitchen with gourmet pizzas, wings, and tacos. Oviedo Brewing has activities for each day of the week, such as Taco Tuesdays, Trivia Wednesdays, Pizza and Pint on Thursdays, plus live music on Friday and Saturday evening. But the best is Sunday brunch with unlimited beer mimosas. Need a spot for game day? Oviedo Brewing is just the place with their large TVs to catch all the live games. You also find Oviedo Brewing at UCF tailgating sampling beers. And OBC support for the Knights doesn't stop there. If you need a spot for UCF away games, come to Oviedo Brewing Company, where the Knightline sports crew will be broadcasting live after the game. You can get all the details on their Instagram or Facebook page. Follow them at Oviedo Brewing CO. Download the Untapped app, and you can find out what beers are on tap. The food menu is also available on their website, OviedoBrewingCO.com.
Hey Night Nation, it's Adam from the Sons of UCF. Be sure to check out our show every Wednesday only on the Knightline Sports Network. Now, back to two guys who probably won't be Cow of the Week nominees, Andrew and Trace.
Ask a Knightline is brought to you by Chad Barr Law. Chad is a UCF alumnus and diehard Knights fan. Chad Barr Law handles auto accident, slip and fall, and personal injury cases. Call Chad today at 407-599-9036 for a free consultation. That's 407-599-9036. Armor up and call Chad Barr Law today.
All right, chock full inbox and Ask Knightline. Of course, we are answering the questions that you pose to us on our Facebook page or via Twitter at #AskKnightline. A little follow-up. It's bounced around. It was from Michael on Facebook who asked a couple weeks back, does Wichita State get a full share of the AAC football TV money and bowl money? And does Navy get a full share of the AAC conference TV money? So I speculated on last week's show, but did send an email to communications at the league, and they responded in the week saying that Wichita State does not share in football-related revenue items, so their distribution from the conference would mostly be from sources other than the media rights agreements. Navy's arrangements with regard to media rights is a bit complicated, including a separate, jointly negotiated deal with CBS for their home games in Annapolis, but they do share in the conference media rights otherwise. Their distribution, however, would not include sources such as NCAA tournament units. So I want to thank the league for getting back with me.
Yeah, very cool for them.
So that answers the question. I thought it was a good question, and it's sort of what we said, that we didn't think Wichita State or Navy got fair shares, but that clarified it. We didn't really talk about this, but Boise State does not appear happy with the new agreement, and they've squawked about it a little on social media. I don't know what their posturing is, but it seems like Commissioner Oresco has left open the door that really it would be in the best interest of the American to have a 12th team, and we've talked about maybe that would be a football-only inclusion.
What does he say on Twitter about that?
No.
Because he's got his burner accounts. Yeah. What does he say?
Was that comical this week?
Oh, that guy. Those guys.
So
I don't know.
For about 25 minutes, there are these four guys, many of you who are on Twitter know. I won't dignify them by giving mention of their handles, but it seems like it's the same person, really. And it's all this pro-Oresco nonsense. And for 25 minutes, I watched the four of those accounts just talk to one another. They were just chuckleheading back and forth to one another.
Chucklehead. Oh, that's funny.
Well, then he's ripping Knightline, and I'm like, okay. My favorite was something along the lines of Commissioner Oresco
would never come on your
talk
crappy,
to you.
your crappy show or something. And I was like, oh, that's interesting because he's been on like multiple times. Jackass. Excuse me for, I guess I probably shouldn't have said that, but
jackwagon.
I can say that. Whatever. Anyway.
But it was funny.
Trolls.
It was
trolls.
funny.
And I think there's some trolls in this stuff, too. These questions, by the way. I think we get trolled. And I think they do it just to piss me off. I think that's what's going on here. I think that's what's going on. Trace, we're getting trolled here. We're getting trolled by some of these questions. And I will what's the word I'm
But there's a
looking
little
for?
Policing that goes on amongst the fans. They kind of call out one another. But back to this point, what do you think of Boise State as just a football-only member?
Fine and
You'd like
dandy,
that?
yeah.
Even though they are where they are, I mean, you could see the rest of their sports being absorbed into the Big Sky or something else out there. But football only.
It's fine. Bring along BYU with you. We'll have more teams. We'll have 13.
So if you had one, which one is it? BYU, Boise, Army, Air Force. Pick one.
Oh, man.
You got one.
Well, if I had to choose between those,
are the four.
I would choose Army.
Army,
yeah.
Of those four.
Because Army-Navy, and we would have that Army-Navy game in our conference. That would be cool.
Yeah.
But I think Boise
gives us the most national.
Would fit pretty well. And they would, I think, have a rude awakening with the competition in the American versus the Mountain West, personally.
So we're talking about the lime green uniforms of our friends over in Tampa. Got a couple of questions about that. What I love about Ask Knightline, I know it's your favorite segment.
It is my favorite
but it
segment.
is the pulse of the fan base. It's whatever is
but some of
annoying them, worrying them. Well, it's off-season. But I like that folks think they can have some fun with us. We'll get to those more fun questions. But at blackgold_ed, USF no longer the Southwest Florida Cows. New name, the Southwest Florida Slime. What you think about that? I like it.
I like it, yeah.
It'd be hard not to call them cows.
Yeah, I like it.
That was followed by at W. Prell Brock 4. Would you wear a shirt the same color as West Central Florida's jerseys?
No.
When I worked for the Orlando Thunder, they were lime green, but it made sense. They were always lime green. The Cows have a color scheme that is not lime green.
In the 80s, I probably owned a lime green shirt. I bet I probably did. You know, when the neon colors were really popular back in the day, I probably, I remember I had I not only played football in high school, but I ran track as well.
I don't recall this coming up and getting to know you.
But we had these.
What did you run?
Distance.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just hard to picture this.
Yeah. And we had these practice shorts. Our practice uniform were these like bright, hot pink shorts.
Pink?
Yeah, I don't know why. It was back then. The color, those colors were really popular. So I don't know why, but they were hot pink, and we wore the guys that were on the track team wore those shorts all the time, and so I've been guilty of wearing hot pink before.
What distance did you run?
Like the mile and the 3,200 and all that stuff.
Trying to picture it now.
Yeah, I was good at that. I had stamina. It was good.
At Brian W. Peterson, some say coaches. I don't know if I read this, and I've never heard this, so I don't know who the some is. But some say coaches have their sophomore slump in their third year of coaching due to increased emphasis on their recruiting ability and locker room control. Do we see this being an issue in Hype's third year at the controls in 2020? Are you familiar with that term? We talked about sophomore slump in relation to possibly Dylan Gabriel, but have you heard this term in relationship to coaches?
I don't know. I mean, I could see where that could possibly happen, but I just think that maybe, I don't know. I don't think that this is really a thing that's going to go on here. I think that this year is going to be better as far as that goes. Hopefully, there won't be nearly as much criticism this year for Heupel. I hope that he, does a better job as well. But I hope that the fans give him a little bit of leeway as well, because it's a hard job that he has. I mean, you have a team of how many ever 70 or how many ever teenagers basically that you have to. Make believe what you are telling them. It's not an easy job. It's not an easy job to be a teacher these days. It's definitely not an easy job to be a coach, especially with the way that kids are now. So it's got to be difficult. So anyway.
At Golden Knight _2, how many UCF football players do you think will be picked in this year's NFL draft? Which I think is an interesting question.
I think there's going to be 3 players picked.
So that will include Gabe Davis, obviously. I think, based on our conversations, you will list Neville Clark in that. You got to throw Adrian Killens in there?
I am.
You are?
I am. I think that he's going to go out, and I think he'll get an invite to the Combine, and I think that he's going to run a blazing 40 in the Combine, and somebody will pick him up as a returner or something like that.
And he showcased a little bit of his pass-catching ability in this East-West Shrine game, so he's trying to show that he can do more than run the ball.
Right. Yeah. I think that somebody's going to pick him up because he's so athletic, such an athlete, that I think that's going to happen for him.
I'm solid on 2. I'm not sure yet on
maybe late
AK.
round. I mean, if he gets picked up at all, I guess it'll be late round or, free agent, I guess. But I think he'll make it into the draft, though.
At LBar87 says, "Hi, guys. I'll be following the Manny Morris method." She asks 3 questions. So my question to you is, I need a ruling on this. Isn't the Manny Morris exemption
2 questions
just for Manny?
Well,
can other people invoke the Manny Morris exemption?
I think other people can invoke it. They have, so I think that we should let them. That's fine. As long as they mention Manny Morris in the thing, they have to say, "I am invoking the Manny Morris method" or the exemption or whatever. They have to say that. If you don't say that and you ask multiple questions, we're not going to answer them.
Well, and in fact, on this, I want to punt 2, which I'll get to the reason in just a moment. But the first question is, what round do you see Killens, Clark, and Gabe going in the draft? We'll have time to talk about this before the NFL draft. So let's start with Gabe Davis.
We need to see combine action and stuff like that.
Just today, just to answer the question, just today. It's a stacked wide receiver draft. A lot of wide receivers.
Gabe Davis, you're asking?
Yeah, we'll start with Gabe. It's a lot of wide receivers. I think third.
Third round?
I think
or third
round.
overall.
Third round. Third round.
I would say that would probably be up there. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, I think I'm not sure. Do underclassmen get to go to the combine?
That's a
I'm
good
not
question.
sure about that.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that either.
If not, then he has to rely on his pro day. Obviously, your pro day can make you look a little bit better than the combine can, but there's all kinds of stuff that is going on behind the scenes that we don't know with players that are even thinking about getting drafted. There's all kinds of agents that are wheeling and dealing there, so sometimes surprising things can happen. I'm going to say late second, early third.
Just based on today.
Yeah.
I think you're on the record as saying that you think Nevelle Clark will be the highest of the
I do.
picks.
I still
Staying
do.
with that.
I still do.
So, second?
I think that he may go late first, early second.
I don't know.
To be honest with you.
Just based on what I read, you certainly seem bigger on him than the majority of our fan base does. So, I mean, for whatever that
I know
means.
things.
We'll see. We'll see.
Okay. Well, we'll see.
We'll see. I mean, you've been big on him for a very long time.
I know what I've been told by people that are involved in these kind of things. So the NFL is very high on him. I guarantee it. And they've been high on him for a long, long time. They've been watching him, and there's all kinds, like I said, there's all kinds of stuff that's posturing and stuff that's been going on behind. I mean, there's even teams that I know about that are interested in him. So
he's hard for me to answer. I don't have a sense of him yet in the draft. The third one is AK, which you have.
I have
drafted.
him being drafted. I think it may be late in the late rounds. But
somebody will
I
take
think
a flyer on him with a late pick.
Yes, I think he will. It may be in the last round. I mean, I don't know. I think that's, I think that he's the kind of guy that can really, do something if he gets drafted. If he gets the chance, I think he'll do something. I worry about any guys that are that size in the NFL. There's not a lot. Mm-hmm. There's a few, and there's a few that have done really well. Sproles, was a little bit bigger, but
keyword there is few.
Yeah. There's a few guys though, and I think that he could do really well as a returner. Like I said, I think that will be that'll be his thing in the NFL.
All right, I want to punt on the next question from Elbar87. Who do you see stepping up in place of Gabe Davis at wide receiver outside Nixon? I ask that we punt just because next week we're going to talk about wide receivers and tight ends.
Yeah.
So we'll save that question and we'll answer it in that group. Third question, I kind of want to punt as well when we get to our position breakdowns in this area, but asked who replaces Nevelle Clark. Tay Gowan, and I know Bam Moore is back, is what's written there. So I kind of just want to save those. So you didn't even need to invoke the Manny Morris exemptions.
That's fine. No, we'll get to them though. We just want to hold them for later.
Well, we proved with that first question that we do research and get the answer.
Absolutely.
So we don't always have every answer. All right, this is where I think you're starting to lose interest.
Well,
this is where you think the questions get goofy.
And I appreciate these guys because these guys are regular people that ask questions.
And
but
Brando Nitro, what do you guys think of The Mandalorian?
You just want our opinions? I mean,
have not seen
what
it.
Does it have to do with football?
It's off season.
Or UCF anything.
It's off season. It's off season. I've not seen it. My nephew watches it. He says it's good.
I don't even know what it is.
It's a Star Wars in the Star Wars story.
I've heard people talk about it, but I don't know. I watch way too many sports to watch things like this, I guess.
Yeah, that's all I know about it. All right, so we're actually going to utilize Libby to answer this next question. Okay, at T. Langerholk with the premise I arrive early to drop my cat off at the vet. How should I spend the next 20 minutes? Libby answers at Libs407, listening to the latest Knightline episode. Duh!
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious. It's an obvious question. I mean, you could do... I mean, are you a student?
Has
Do you
there
have
ever been
homework?
has there ever been a 20-minute?
No. I mean,
a long visit.
You could maybe listen to one of Jeff Allen's shows.
Yeah, you could get that in 20.
You could listen to a Nightline Now from earlier in the season.
You could listen to 4 of those.
I mean, I'm glad that we are. I'm glad, I guess, that people want our opinion on all these things. I mean, the way to spend this guy's 20 minutes. I mean,
It's
you know,
easy.
like I'm honored that he would ask, but I think we're getting trolled.
No, remember the honor here is that people like engaging with us.
That's true. And I appreciate any engagement, even though it's a little trolling.
Speaking of Libby, I think this is a loaded question.
No, this is a question because she wonders how you're doing your.
The question is, do you use a selfie stick? The answer to that is no.
Do you need a selfie stick?
I don't know if I want.
I think
a
I have
selfie
an
stick.
Extra one if you need one.
See, so I asked her. Well, she asked this Saturday night, and I said, hashtag Ask Knightline. Like, I'll just save it as an Ask Knightline question. So then I said, well, what would you like the answer to be? I asked the question. Well, what I'm trying to figure out is, does she want me to use a selfie stick, or she's curious as to how
I got
steady I am with my hand? I don't know about the whole selfie stick thing, because to me,
maybe she doesn't
means
think you have a long enough arm. It would be a little bit of a more.
It's just something I got to bring with me.
That's true.
I'm just not into. I don't know.
True. You got a selfie stick. It's called your arm.
Yeah.
But
well, what's your opinion? You obsess over the video and the audio. And by the way, if you didn't like the background audio outside Burger U on this first interview, the crowd continues to build as we go through the next several.
Right. I didn't even say anything about it. I said nothing
At
about
one
it.
point, I'm in the middle of an interview, and people next to me start playing cornhole. So that will be picked up in. Well, where are you going to go? There's nowhere to go. A lot of these guys are in their late 60s, early 70s. So
Go
I'm
in
not
the
walking.
bathroom or something. Say, hey,
Burger
step
U is
into my
is
office.
noisy.
Step into my office.
I'm not dragging a guy into the restroom with a selfie stick, whatever that means.
Step into my office.
So what is your opinion of these on-cam
You're really
things?
tall. Step into my office. That's funny.
Is the selfie stick needed?
It would probably produce a little bit more stable of an image.
Well, maybe.
But
it's
you do a good
appropriate.
job. You
Maybe
do a
it's
great job.
appropriate. Maybe I'm not that stable.
I don't know though.
I gotta carry this thing around.
It's
How
not-
long? How big is it? It's like a tripod.
No. It's like less than a foot. It's extendable. You can make it as long or as short as you want it. I got a couple of things that would probably work for you. Let's see what we can do. I would like to get some kind of stabilization of the image. This is what I would really like.
I think that's where we're going with this.
I would like to have what do they call a gimbal? I'd like to get a gimbal for you, where it's a thing that self-levels. So no matter how you hold the thing,
of
does he have a camera with a gimbal?
Yes.
And no matter how you hold the thing, it makes a good image, and you can turn it. Those are expensive. There's a few that are out there though. Let me see what I can do.
Does the phone just go into this thing? So I extend this thing. I put the phone. Now, why does it make it more stable when I'm sticking the stick out?
Because the stick is not your arm. That's loosey-goosey.
So when I was in local TV news, I worked at a station that was all about, as the news director said, live shuck and jive. So it was always about walking around, using your hands, walking and talking and all of that. So I still have a little of that in me.
How about we get a drone that just follows you?
How's the drone budget?
Well, you never know. We could get one of those. You know, they have those cameras now that you clip a little sensor to your body, and the camera will follow you wherever you go.
It's not like I'm a Houston Astro now or something.
I think that was, yeah. How about that?
I think Libby ought to send me.
How about the Houston Astros?
Something if she
cheaters?
wants. Yeah.
Man.
I think they should vacate their
They
World
should.
Series.
They
title.
should. Two of them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, them and then the Red Sox the following year or whichever year it was.
I think those totally should be vacated. They should vacate all those wins and their entire season.
Take away their title.
Yep.
Because what you're saying
And
is
give it to the other team.
We
I guess
fired
they
the
don't do
Well,
that,
they can't
but,
do that.
yeah.
We fired the manager. We're taking away your draft picks, but you're still forever going to be known as the World Series champion. Nonsense.
Cheaters.
Yeah.
I mean that. And if did you ever see any of the video where they proved that? Like you
Yes.
could hear it. It was like they were beating on a trash can or something. Or like the roof, or I don't know what they were beating on, but they were beating on something, and the beats were code to the players, and they would kind of know what was going on. That's crazy.
So, yeah. I would vacate, and there'd be no World Series champion for those years.
We're just this we could have had to ask Knightline question about. This was sports related, but we're just free. We're giving you our free opinion.
Yeah,
you don't even have to pay for it.
All right, we'll wrap up with
I'm totally playing.
Now that I've answered your question, Libby, let me know if you prefer that I have a selfie stick. See, this is where this goes, and it's going to be weighing in on what I wear.
We could have a poll.
We
could have a poll.
I'm not one to overpoll.
We could have a poll for the poll. Because the selfie stick is kind of a... Should Trace get a selfie stick, yes or no?
Oh, you post that. I'm not posting.
All right.
At WadeH_UCF, who is very witty and asks and posts a lot of good things on Twitter. First question, a little silly. Comes in hard on the second question, but the first question is, going to SeaWorld, should I do the walrus or beluga whale behind-the-scenes tour?
The walrus, of course.
Why the walrus?
Cuckoo, cuckoo.
Oh, Lord.
I am the walrus.
Yeah, okay, I get the reference.
And then of course, in homage of Andy Reid, the walrus.
They've come full circle now on the chefs. You know, my favorite, I haven't been to SeaWorld in quite a while, puffins. I'm all about the puffin exhibit. I'm fascinated by them. They fly, they swim, they dive into the water. I love puffins.
Okay.
Yeah. The ray tank's pretty cool there, too.
They never... How about an animal question? What's your favorite animal or something?
No, sharks, of course. Remember, Libby? Rescuing all the sharks. Yeah, she posted a thing this week. If I was in Australia, I'd save all the animals. Okay, all right.
Speaking of animals, and this is why I thought about this, so I grew up on a big farm. I think I've told people that before, in Kansas.
Where you were running in pink shorts.
Yeah. But I would love more than anything else to have a farm again. And I've decided recently, I've been doing my research on these things because you never know. You never know when I'm going to make my millions of dollars that I will make in my lifetime.
Knightline number 1,934.
Exactly, yeah, it could be. But I've decided an alpaca farm if I have a farm again.
Okay.
Alpacas are really cool animals. I don't know if you're familiar with them. But they're very lucrative with not much, to put into it. You feed them some hay and you shave their wool, and the wool's worth like thousands of dollars. It's the color of them, though, that makes them more expensive. They're not that expensive of animals, but they're really cool. And you can put guard dogs out in you train these dogs to like guard them from other animals. It's really kind of cool. Check out an alpaca farm sometime.
Yeah, I don't see
you'll be
this, but
just completely, enthralled with alpaca farming.
Gotcha.
Alpacafarms.net. I don't know.
Yeah, you're worried about the questions we get, and this is some of what we share on here.
Well, I'm kind of. What was the thing that we did?
Getting to know you?
Yeah, maybe we need to start that back up again. I can't ever
You
think
can
of
never
it.
think of any when we do
I can never
it.
think of this stuff when we do it, but then, like, now I can think about all the stuff. That's what's weird. My thoughts are organic versus, like, there's alcohol involved.
Scotch-aided. Before we get to Wade's second question, which is a more serious question in reference to this whole selfie stick thing, at Tabby42002 just posting on Twitter, great opening close for the court report. Horns down to start off with an emphatic charge on at the end. Love it all. Can't wait to hear the show. Now, that's good to greet you on Twitter as we record.
I will say the crowd was kicking at
Yes.
that game
Yes.
the other night at the Edition. It was kicking.
Yes.
And that was really good to hear on TV because I was watching it on TV. So props to Night Nation for a great showing for that game for sure. All right, on to the last question.
All right, Wade's other question was, Danny White still talking stadium expansion. When it happens, how many seats and what other features would you add? I like one person responded to him saying there should be a area for children to play, some sort of child's play area, playground area.
There should. You know how they build those on a lot of stadiums? They'll build like a little kids field or whatever, like a football field or a baseball field or whatever. That would be cool. I think they should do this. I really do. I think that they should add like 20,000 seats. The place needs to be 60,000 at least. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah, I remain opposed to the stadium
Okay,
expansion.
well, I haven't... I'm still talking here.
Yes.
Come on.
That's what it's like, by the way.
Whatever. My show. It would be really cool if they do add an upper bowl, that they add a concourse that you could walk all the way around. That would be really nice. A nice concourse with, vendors and stuff like that. Inside there. That would be cool.
Like the lower concourse that you can't walk around.
Well, yeah. It's silly. And they're not really concourses. They're not, look at any stadium out there that's more of a... I mean, obviously it's not going to be an NFL stadium or something like that, but it needs to have some amenities. It needs to have something. Or, whatever. I think it would be easy to do. I don't think it would be hard to add on to the stadium.
Oh, it's not hard. It's expensive.
Yeah.
I don't think the demand
pay off.
is there for 20,000 seats. When I have spoken to UCF officials, they have told me that the demand remains in one area, and it remains in the higher end area. That's why you've seen Danny White carve out on-field seats, Cabana, the other areas.
That's why you make the entire lower bowl.
I think an addition to the towers is where they could sell out. I don't think the demand is there yet. And I think the trend, if you really study the trend, not only college sports, but you look at baseball stadiums, you look at other facilities, the trend is for smaller stadiums, not 80, 90, 100,000 seat stadiums. It's getting smaller. So I think UCF's footprint at 45,000 is sufficient, adding in additional space for the towers. So premium seats is where I think they need to. And I agree with you on the amenities, continuing to improve those.
Well, I got a question for you then. Do those other schools and stuff that you're talking about that need smaller stadiums, do those schools put out as many alumni as UCF does?
No, but I don't think you have a one-to-one there where the number of students correlates into ticket buyers. I mean, they've been pumping out 15,000 grads a year for quite some time. And this is still, while there is this waiting list for tickets, and that's great, this is also on the heels of undefeated in 2017 and the 2018 season, the 2019 season.
The expectation has gotten larger.
Yeah, I just, I have a waiting list for years and years and years.
And then we have all these schools that say that our stadium is too small, and that's why they won't come here and play.
Well, I don't believe that. But
you don't believe that?
No, I mean... No.
Why do you think they want neutral site games?
Do you think if the stadium had 60,000 that we would give 10 or 15,000 to the Gators to come?
I don't think you're going to get that much, but they're going to get more than they get now.
Yeah, but they're going to get 25,000, 30,000 over at the Buck Stadium when they play the Cows there. So they're not going to get that even if the stadium was 60. I think it's an excuse they use.
I think in our lifetime we will see it. I think in the next decade you will see UCF build that stadium larger. And I think that it will help. I think they're putting out a lot of alumni. There's a lot of people, especially from these years of the really good football years that we've been having. Those people are really going to be the football fans coming back. We had a lot of years of not so great football in there that produced a lot of those alumni as well, but they're a select few. But if you have great football teams like we've been having, more of those alumni are going to want to be interested in football.
And I think UCF, while there has not been always good football, I think if you look back at least from the period of time of the Fiesta Bowl, the first one, it's really that 2015 season that was the drag on
but before that, was there really any demand for tickets?
We talked about Boise. If you look at Boise over the last 20 years,
there's nothing to do in Boise, Idaho.
I'm talking about their record.
Okay.
10 wins, 9, 10, 11, 12 wins.
Right.
Year in and year out. That's what I want to see from UCF, year in and year out.
Well, obviously.
1 year of a waiting list for season
It
tickets.
hasn't been just 1 year, though.
Well, that's their ballyhooing this 1 year. I mean, they announced the sellout last year. And let's see what the renewal rate is. From what you read in message boards and social media, they've upped ticket prices, and we'll see if everybody renews.
And they're going to continue doing that.
I just don't believe yet that the demand is there in Central Florida. It's a fickle fan base. I just don't think that it would fill 20,000 more seats right now.
This is one of the fastest growing areas in all of the United
I'm aware
States.
of all these statistics.
All you have to do is harness, the draw of all those people. Orlando is growing beyond its means. It's going to get I can't wait till all this highway construction is done because it's getting ridiculous.
As has been the case on other things, I do defer to Danny White. They have much more data points than we are privy to and talk about. And if Danny White and athletics feels that that's the best direction, then that's the direction they'll go, and I'll support that direction. I just don't see it
soon. I think you're going to see it soon.
All right. Again, thanks everyone for your questions. We do appreciate it. We appreciate your engagement, and I actually like the fun questions, so I'm not a stick in the mud. Like
I'm
some
not
people.
saying that. I just feel like I don't know what the thought process is behind it. Are they trolling us just because I don't like these questions?
I do think the more you talk about not liking them, the more we're going to get.
Good. I mean, that's fine. I would rather have a bunch of questions than none.
Yes.
But
we've never had a shortage of questions.
Yeah, no,
we can't even get to all of them sometimes. So
I love it. I've always loved this segment. I think it's awesome. You never know. Ask Knightline could be a show of its own at some point. You never know. We are the champions. We are the champions. Trace, why were we playing We Are the Champions?
Because UCF has won the national championship in cheerleading.
Unbelievable.
We've been watching results come in the competition while we've been recording, and UCF has returned to being a national champion in cheerleading. In the top 10, 24 of the last 26 years under Coach Linda Gooch. National titles 2003, 2007, and now again, national champions in cheerleading.
Yeah, I think we've covered this before, I think, right? Maybe not national champions because we weren't doing this since 2007. I think we've covered it before, though, and I think we came in second, third. We've always been in the top 5, I think.
Beat Alabama by half a point.
That's great.
To be best in the nation. All of this going on out at Wide World of Sports.
Congratulations, Coach Gooch. She's been on the show before and does a great job with our cheerleaders, as you all know. They go to football games, basketball games, all that stuff. So they do a great job. So congratulations to our national championship 2019 cheerleaders. Awesome.
Congrats.
And now, news and notes from the world of UCF sports. All right, women's basketball rebounds by beating the Cows 64-57 over in the south of Tampa. UCF is 2-2 in the American, 10-6 overall. War on I-4 update, 3 more points for the Knights, and it's now UCF 30, Cows 6.
It's a wampum.
Yeah, wampum.
Just wampum them.
They're getting slimed.
Yeah. Men's tennis opens the season a 6-1 win over Mercer. Then the Knights traveled to number 1 Florida up in Gainesville and lost to the Gators Sunday by that same score. UCF 1-1 to start the year.
13th ranked women's tennis sweeps Cornell in Saturday's season opener.
Track and field, congrats senior sprinter Cheyenne Hyde, the Americans runner of the week.
And finally, UCF stands in 29th place in the final fall sports standings released in the 2019-2020 Learfield IMG Sports Division College Sports Division I College Directors Cup in all sports competitions sponsored by the National Association of Collegiate Directors of Athletics, UCF, is ahead of 40 legacy programs, including 12 from the Southeastern Conference, 9 each from the Big 12 and Big 10, plus 5 each from the Atlantic Coast Conference and the Pacific 12 Conference.
Pretty good in considering UCF doesn't compete in as many sports as those other ones.
Yeah.
A lot of them have more than the 16 that UCF qualifies in, so they can't get as many points. So that's the highest ranking that they've had.
Yeah, and that means the Danny White is doing exactly what he said. Top 25 in all sports is what he wants to do. All right, this has been Knightline 219. I'm Andrew Phegley.
I'm Trace Trylko. Congrats, cheerleaders. Go Knights!
Charge on.
With our spirits we'll never yield. Black and gold charge right through the line. Victory is our cry. B-S-E-T-O-R-Y. Tonight our knights will shine.